Hi, everybody. It's James Clare, the Restaurant Guru, bringing you another edition of the Restaurant Guru podcast, dedicated to all of you out there working in the most difficult but rewarding business in the world, the restaurant business. So come on, let's get to it. Hi, everybody. It's James Clare, the Restaurant Guru. After a brief hiatus, I'm back. I haven't done a podcast in a little while because I've been involved in a very special project. And our guest today is someone I've gotten very close to, is my partner in this project, Mr. Brett Payne. I haven't
Hello,
been
sir.
Hey, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing terrific. Thank you.
I got to tell you, I haven't been as excited about anything that I'm doing in a very long time. And I feel privileged to have gotten to know you as a friend and a partner. And we've got some cool stuff going on, don't we, man?
We really do. I know we've been talking about it for a long, long time, and it's great to see all these ideas kind of come to fruition. So it's about here.
Yeah, it really is. So before we get into this project specifically, Brett, I want to tell our listeners, my listeners, a little bit about your career. I mean, you've done so many things, and what are you, about 23, something like that?
Yeah, right. So
yeah, tell me, just give us the nickel tour of Brett's life, if you will.
Nickel tour. When I was 21, I moved to Eastern Europe because I didn't know anybody who had ever done that, and I thought that would be a terrific idea. So I went over there for about 5 years and worked in humanitarian aid projects and a bunch of different things, and then ended up back here in the States. I worked in churches, nonprofits for a long time, and eventually found myself becoming good friends with a guy from Cambridge, England, in 2006, and he ran a big software company, and I thought, well, heck, I know a lot about computers and things like that. Maybe I can come help this guy, and he helped me a ton, actually. So I went to work for his company, and eventually, over time, I became the chief exec of a software company. I'm not a developer, a coder, or anything like that, but we ended up having offices here in the States and in the Philippines and a couple in England, and then I ended up in food and beverage, and so in franchising. But of course, you kind of carry your skills along with you, and I ran into you, and all of a sudden, a few things clicked, and we kind of ended up where we are right now.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's providence, you know. I think we both believe things happen for a purpose in life, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and I don't know that we could have ever written this story, but here we are. It's exciting.
I know it really is. So let's fast forward. Let's talk about our first meeting. I was doing a little consulting work for a company that you're involved with, and I was doing some pricing for you, some food pricing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I run franchising for a company here in our hometown in Springfield, and of course, I knew about you because you're the famous chef that I knew. You're the only famous chef that I knew, and you were I still call you the famous chef. You were in doing consulting for us, and I just watching you work and kind of go through the processes of what you were trying to do to help us. I think it started to make my brain go a little crazy because I thought this is a lot of work to achieve what seems absolutely necessary. And I think at one point, you probably remember also, I probably cornered you in a room and I said, James, do other restaurants have this problem?
Yeah, and let's describe the problem a little bit. What I was doing specifically is I was taking items from your menu and I was determining their cost. I want to make sure our listeners understand where we're going with this. So I was determining their cost, and you kind of started asking me about the process, which, as you know, it's very tedious, right? Maybe speak a little bit about that.
It is very tedious because you were going over the cost of the food that was coming into the restaurant, which obviously we have to keep our cost of goods, as low as possible. And I began to realize there wasn't as much transparency in these costs as you might assume. So it's not like, going to Walmart and you see a can of green beans and that's the price, and you can see all the prices of the other green beans. I realized these prices, not only are they, when they come from different vendors or purveyors, in some sense they're kind of hidden. And in another sense, they kind of change. And in another sense, you kind of don't know when they change. And I thought, well, there's a whole lot of questions in that when it comes to running a restaurant.
Yeah, and as I explained it to you, I remember you got a quizzical, almost dumbfounded look on your face, like you got to be kidding me. I mean, because it is so tedious. And so was that the light bulb moment for you?
Yeah, that definitely was the light bulb moment. I think that I saw you kind of working through spreadsheets and comparing costs and things like that. And I asked if maybe we could meet off site because I started to have this idea. I remember I was running on a treadmill in a gym and just thinking about what you were doing, and I thought there has to be an easier way to do this. And that's when you and I started talking about the notion of, is it possible for a chef or a restaurant owner to compare in real time the prices from different vendors and essentially give them some help so they can find the best prices, which seems completely logical to me. I mean, I can't imagine that people would not want to do this, and yet you explained to me they do this, but it's quite a task because you essentially have to do it manually most of the time.
Yeah, you really do. There's no other way to do it. And but by manually, I'm sure most of my listeners that are in the business understand this. But for those that aren't in the business, it means you have to get a price sheet from that purveyor or go onto their online system and check their prices. Then you have to get vendor two and you have to do the same. They're all in different orders. They use different formats. So it's incredibly tedious just to find the price. I always use iceberg lettuce. I don't know because it took a big price jump a while back, but just to find the comparable price for a case of iceberg lettuce from 3 vendors could take 10 minutes. Imagine if you had 100 items.
Yeah, and I think, James, that's where you and I started to kind of formulate some ideas and say, okay, what if we could do this? And that's when we really kind of entered into the interview stage where I was still learning. I mean, I did not even know the term purveyor. I had no idea what that word meant. I think it's not kind of normal verbiage in a common person's world, and so. I was picking up new lingo. I was picking up new kind of the infrastructure of the restaurant world, even though I run franchising. It is very, very intricate. And you and I interviewed a lot of chefs, a lot of restaurant owners, just trying to really see, is this a problem that only we were having? Is it something that was unique to you? Or was this kind of a widespread problem that really needed a solution but seemed so daunting? People either invested a lot of time looking at these costings on these spreadsheets, or they just felt it was so painful they ignored it, hoped for the best, and hope that they were getting the best pricing, which actually is what we found most people did, because they just don't want to think about the fact they could be not getting the best pricing.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And I don't want to jump ahead. We'll talk about some other obstacles with purveyors and vendors. But before we do that, let's just kind of do this in a logical, step-by-step manner. The first thing that you and I talked about and what you came up with was really a software program and we called it margin markup. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So it's what we call a SaaS product. So it's, software as a service. So it's a web-based software that, basically you and I started with the notion of the price comparison, and then we realized there were a lot of kind of other things that would be beneficial to people as well. So, we started saying, well, what if? Well, what if? Which is like the 2 worst words you can ever say in software. Because what happens is that you go, well, what if? And our eyebrows go up, we get very excited, and we say, well, what about if we had a menu builder on there? What if we did test menus? What if we did inventory? What if we did, and before too long, I was looking at you cross-eyed like, this thing has become, what was supposed to be helpful actually became something that, you'd need to be a NASA engineer to try to run this piece of software. And it actually was in development. That was the crazy thing. It actually did work.
Yeah.
The problem was, I don't know that bringing on a very busy chef or a very busy restaurant owner was going to be practical. It was going to take way too much training to get them to use this tool. It was very, very enterprise level, to the point that I just started looking at this and I realized I just need to take a step back and see if we may have deviated a bit from the path. And I think it was probably about 6 weeks or maybe 2 months where it was pretty quiet between our conversations about that, because I just wasn't sure if we should pursue that as strongly as we had been.
And then it's kind of interesting because you came back to me and said, well, let's do this, but it's just too complicated. So let's do this other thing. And tell me if I'm wrong. I kind of remember I remember being crestfallen because the other thing did not involve the price comparison sheet. Do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I think it was one of those things, yeah, where the product margin markup had gone outside of the limits of the core problem we were trying to solve so much that we actually lost sight of the core problem because it just was so many layers of complication. And I don't know where I was when I started to think about, number one, this idea is still a good idea. It's not bad. It's just that we complicated it. And I realized what people need is they just need something kind of in their back pocket, so to speak, where they could pull something out and get the best pricing very, very quickly. And I think I probably just bugged you and said, hey, can we go out to dinner and let me throw this idea at you, which honestly, James, I wasn't sure if you were going to say this is terrible. This is not at all what we had talked about, but actually the inverse was true, that you seem to be genuinely excited about switching things up a bit.
Well, and let's tell our listeners what we decided to do. Instead of a software web-based program, you brought up the idea of doing an iOS, an Apple app, right?
Yeah, so I realized, in me working in a restaurant environment, I need the information on pricing very quickly. The one thing I have with me is my phone. I can reach back in my pocket, and if I'm not sure, how much kale is today, and I need to go buy kale for some new thing that we're doing, I don't know if I should go to Sam's. I don't know if I should go to this purveyor or that purveyor. I don't know who has the best pricing, and I just want to know in that moment how to do that. And I presented that idea to you, and then I spent maybe about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks just kind of mocking up a bunch of screens, and I brought it back to you, and I would say to you on every set of screens, James, tell me, is this what you want? And I tried to make it very, very, very simple and still achieve the core thing that we were trying to achieve. And the end result was that we came up with this product that we call FoodCst, without the O, of course, on cost, because it's much more cool if it's just CST, right?
Right. Who needs vowels? I mean, they just get in the way. I've always felt like that.
That's right.
And they cost money too, right? You have to buy the vowels. Gosh, forget that.
That's a good point.
So we came up with FoodCst, and it's an Apple app, and its major purpose is to provide comparative pricing with multiple vendors. And I mean, Brett, I got to tell you, it's just blown me away, because this was like, the search for the golden fleece. I mean, this is what I spent years and years, trying to, and I want to trust my purveyors, and I generally do, and I think most of them are good people. We are not slamming purveyors. I'm going to say that, but we do feel like as a customer, it's kind of our right to be able to search for the best prices. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and actually, I think it's a great tool for purveyors also, because they now have a way to really prove to their customers, we are giving you the best pricing. It's not just us saying that. I know there's a lot of trust equity built in those relationships, and of course that's really, really important between the chef or the restaurant owner and the purveyor. And this is just a way for the purveyor to validate that, so that when they're telling you we are getting you the best pricing, look, you can just check FoodCst. It'll show you that. Then it's really helpful for them. But certainly as a chef or a restaurant owner, margins are tight in food. They're very, very tight, and it's easy for a proprietor to kind of let those things slip. And if you're not watching things carefully, which at this point takes a lot of time, then restaurants go out of business. I mean, that's true, isn't it, James? That is one of the factors that they just cannot manage those costs. And that's what we're trying to do, is just really provide a good service that, yes, it is an iOS app, but it's a really, really strong SaaS product that's, obviously has a lot of data in it that we're crunching and managing, but the delivery system is simple. The delivery system is in your back pocket. You're not buying an app. It really is a system that you're able to tap into, but the way that you're able to access that is through a mobile device, which I think is really, really handy.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on, I mean, it just makes so much more sense. Everybody's got a phone, and a vast majority have an iPhone. And if they don't have an iPhone, I know a lot of companies have iPads on staff. One of my clients has 2 iPads in every store. So even if they don't have an iPhone, they're going to be able to use it. And you're right, it's in your back pocket. And, I want to go over the features. I know we don't have a lot of time, but let's run over the main features of FoodCst. Number one, why don't you just tell the listeners how the process goes once you sign up as a customer?
Yeah, so we try to make it really easy for a customer. We're not asking you to go do a bunch of back-end stuff to get the app up and running. I mean, we really are here to support you. So, if you come on board with FoodCst, we'll just get the information from you from the purveyors that you're using. And of course, the question is always, is it limited to certain purveyors? And the answer is no. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're using. It doesn't matter what part of the country that you're in. It doesn't matter if you use a purveyor that we don't currently have in our system. It takes us about 24 hours to get them in this. It's really easy for us to do this because we have a good system to do it. So we get your purveyors in place for you. We get your order guide in place and get all of your current order guide updated into your account. We'll let you know usually in 24 hours or 48 hours. You can log into the app. It's got your order guide in place, and then you can just simply select the purveyors that you would like to do comparisons on. So if you only want pricing from U.S. Foods, you don't have to turn the other ones on. But if you'd like to get pricing from maybe 2 or 3 or 4, including Sam's and some of the big box stores, I know some people get pricing from there. We include those. Just toggle them on, select the items that you want pricing on. It doesn't matter if it's 2 or 50. It's really simple. And then once you hit the magic button that says build order, then we let you know. If you buy everything you wanted from this purveyor, this is what the price is going to be. For instance, if you just want one truck showing up at your restaurant, if you want to separate it and have a split order between multiple purveyors, then we can do that for you. If you want to know out of these 50 items, I want to get the ones that are cheapest from purveyor A, we'll separate that for you, and the cheapest from purveyor B, we'll separate that from you. So we give you all kinds of different ways to filter how you want that order. And then once you have that, you can send that over to by email or text or however you want. We give you a secure link, and then you can process that order from whatever system you typically would use. If you'd email that to your vendor, or however it is, if you have a purchasing manager that handles that for you. But the main thing that we want to do is just separate those orders for you, get the best pricing, and then give you a way to provide it to that purchasing manager.
Right. And I want to back up a little bit because I'm not sure we're totally clear. When you, as the chef, have this in your hand on your phone, you literally take it with you through the kitchen to do your order. And you add your order on FoodCst. You select this item, I need this many cases, this item. Then you hit the magic calculate button, and that's when it gives you these comparative prices. And like Brett said, you can do, there's a function called best price if you want to split trucks. I think it's great for caterers because a lot of times caterers don't need a whole case of something. So they may want to get some things from Sam's. And, like you said, we have that feature as well, which I think is awesome. And Brett, one of the other features that I just think is dynamite is price alert. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, so price alert is really for those locations that are very conscious about changes in their pricing. So we give you the option to be alerted. We put a little scale on the screen for you. You can slide it back with your finger. It's kind of fun, but you can do it either by percentage or by dollar amount. So for instance, if I was running a pizza joint and I wanted to know, if there's anything on my order guide that changes by more than 10%, I want to know about that. Yeah. I just move the little slider to 10%. I can get an email about that. I can get a push notification. And if something happens during the week where all of a sudden tomatoes go up by 10% from a certain date that I would set, so maybe it's July the 1st or something, I'll get a push notification. It'll say this item has gone up, 10.2%. And it's just a reaffirming thing for me as a business owner to keep an eye on certain things that may really have an effect on my business. So it may be a percentage. It may be, if anything goes up by 50 cents, I want to know about it. And again, it's one of those trial and error things, James. I think, people, you might pick a number that's too low and you're getting too many alerts or something like that. But right. I'm certain there's some threshold that you feel really comfortable with. I don't know, like in your restaurants, if there was a number like it's like your freak out number. Like if something went up more than 5%, that was really a big deal to you, or maybe it's 20%, whatever it is. But we make that available to you so you can get alerted.
No, I mean, that's amazing because so often we as operators find out when we're like maybe 4 invoices down and we find out that, that spinach has gone up because of something that happened in California, but we didn't really know about it because, our purveyors, they've got 10,000 items in their catalog. They're not going to alert us when those things go up. They may not even know. Yeah, it's a great system. And I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but take us through we decided to do an initial offering for our customers. We call it the Founders Club. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, like I said at the beginning, that we tested this with a lot of chefs and a lot of restaurants just to kind of get their feedback on what did they like, what can we change, what can we make that would fit better for them. So it wasn't that we came up with this product and we're trying to sell it to people now. We really listened to what restaurants said. We built it to solve this problem for them. So as we're going through this initial kind of version 1 development, what we decided was we would take this existing product and present it to people, which we can demo it right now. We've got demo versions and we've been showing it to various, restaurants. The question after we show it to them and their eyebrows go up always is, well, how much does this thing cost? And our answer to them is pretty honest. We don't know. And the reason why we say that, usually with a little bit of a laugh, is because we honestly don't know. We've talked about price points. We know there is, certain expenses that have to be covered and things like that. We have to find a comfortable price point. But what we've decided is we know that the baseline price is going to be $40. It's a monthly subscription, so it's $49.99 a month is the baseline price. Now, could we actually sell it for more than that? We think that we can, because again, we don't know exactly what the final price is going to be. But the promise that we've made to the first group of people that we're talking with is, look, if you want to make sure that you get this $49.99 price per month forever, no matter what the price is, then we'll allow you to do that. We'll call you a founder. We'll basically take 20 of you, and we've already got some already, obviously. And in exchange for guaranteeing that cheapest price forever, what we are going to ask from you is that you pay for 12 months in advance. So what that does for us is that gives us a little bit of money to help with the development. But we're going to give you some kind of safety features in that. So part of that safety feature is, if at any point during this process while we're developing that you say, hey, I want my 12 months back, I need it to buy shoes for my kids or whatever it is, no questions asked, just tell us that you want the money back, and FoodCst will give you your 12 months back. And we actually extend that, I think, James, you and I discussed this, we're actually extending that for 3 months after you have the product. So let's say we deliver maybe in 8 weeks or something. Of course, I'm making that up. But if we deliver that product in 8 weeks and you use it for 2 months and you say, I don't need this, you just let us know. We'll give you the whole 12 months back. And hopefully, of course, that that's never going to happen. But if you're willing to do that for us, then we're willing to take the risk on our side. And then the only other thing that we ask for is that you share with your friends, let them know that we're around. So that's what we call our Founders Club.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing. But the bottom line is there's zero risk. Zero risk. We'll give you your money back anytime up to 90 days when you're using it. So, I mean, there's no risk. And if you do write us that check, that money's available to you anytime up through 90 days, like you said. So there's no risk. So the product's in development, and I heard you say 8 weeks. So you think maybe 6 to 8 weeks will be rolling, bro?
I think so. I mean, look at today's date, whatever that is. It's the end of August. But yep. I'm probably going to have a definitive August, September. I'm probably going to have a definitive date sometime in the next 7 days. I'll know how long the development's going to take before we're finished, but it's in process. They're coding it and making it all look beautiful, and we're testing it, and my eyebrows are going up watching it function, and it's absolutely terrific. So, and the other thing is, if you decide to become a founder with us, we will give you updates every couple of weeks just to let you know how things are going. I mean, we really want you to feel part of what this process is. Yeah. And there's lots of new things that are going to be added to it over time. But yeah, we hope to bring on some great restaurants.
That is so cool, man. Well, again, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me tonight. I appreciate you as a friend and a partner. And for our listeners, I mean, this is an exciting product. It's really never been done. And I think it's really going to help both chefs and purveyors, like you said. So I'm really excited. Brett, thanks so much for your time, my friend. You have a great evening, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
Probably will. Thank you, James.
Okay, bro. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye.
So there you have it, folks. My interview with Mr. Brett Payne, co-founder and my partner at FoodCst, the first iOS app that instantly compares purveyor pricing in real time. For more information or to schedule a demo, visit our website at foodcst.com. That's FoodCst.com. There's no O in the cost. We look forward to helping you grow your profits by shrinking your cost. Well, that's a wrap. I'm James Clary, and I hope to see you next time on the Restaurant Guru Podcast. Thanks for listening to the Restaurant Guru Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the show and maybe learned something along the way. Be sure to visit me at therestaurantguru.net for more great podcasts and lots of useful information about the most exciting business in the world, the restaurant business. We'll see you next time.